and welcome back to New Stigmas and Open Wounds. I'm Tracy.
And I'm Eric.
And we have a guest today. We have Jordan with us. If you want to say hey, Jordan.
Hey.
Well played.
Nice. That was the best. So we met Jordan when we did a live podcast a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, I don't know, a while ago now. And, you know, his podcast is very structured. It's similar to ours, you know,
I
just
would call
making
it
yourself
adjacent
better.
to ours.
Yes, that's a word.
So
why
don't you start out, Jordan? Tell us about what is your podcast about?
And the name of it, of course, because I don't remember. I'm sorry, I'm horrible.
No, that's fine. Okay, well, thank you so much, Eric and Tracy, for having me on your show. It was wonderful to meet you guys in person, listen live. But a little bit about the podcast. It's called What's Your One Thing? And the way I like to describe it is it's 1 part personal development, 2 parts poor stand-up comedy. And I haven't nailed down either quite yet. It just started as
right.
Yeah, it just started as this thing where I wanted to help people navigate personal development, but in a fun way. I mean, there's so many things there's so many buzzwords around personal development and self-help that give it this gloomy kind of feel. So I wanted to add a little bit more fun to it. That's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
And your approach that you take to touching personal development is something that I think that we on this very podcast have talked about numerous times over again. Just your whole philosophy towards it, taking it more at a higher level than just, hey, I suck at making a website, so I need to get better at making websites. It's more of a, what's within me that is going to make me better at that next thing.
Right.
Which I think is a really powerful way to approach it.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the lightheartedness always helps a little bit. I mean, we all take life a little bit too seriously, don't we? So
definitely.
It's kind of fun.
So anyways, after that live show, obviously listening to both of our podcasts, we kind of felt like we were very adjacent to each other. So we decided, hey, why not do a podcast together, do an episode? So we kind of left it up to you to kind of pick the topic you wanted to talk about. And you actually picked the topic directly pulled from our podcast.
Yes, it's kind of funny.
That we did live that day, which was we were talking about finding things that you may have done in your childhood, or not even in your childhood, but somewhere along your life that you just lost over time. And when you go back and reflect on that thing, you are like, well, why did I ever stop doing that?
Yeah. You know, and I think a lot of times we kind of referenced when we did our live podcast, I believe, we referenced how a lot of people, when they get older, maybe they're like, oh, hey, I'm rediscovering this thing. And then they call it a midlife crisis. And I'm like, honestly, if it's a midlife crisis, I'm happy to do it because I don't think it's a crisis. I think it's like a reawakening, rediscovering and everything.
Right. Well, and ironically, it's very ironic that we're recording this episode today because just yesterday on YouTube, I watched this video. I'm not going to say it was the best video, but some of the content of it was pretty good. And it was about, I believe he's a philosopher. Are you guys familiar with Carl Jung?
Oh, yeah. We talked about him on our shadow work episode. Okay.
So Carl Jung has this philosophy that this video talked about is that the first 40 years of your life are like building up all the walls and everything you need to protect yourself in life. And then the next 40 years after that is kind of you finally figuring out who you are.
You know, I think that makes a lot of sense because we constantly talk about how when we turned 40, just everything kind of clicked with us.
Right.
So, you know, you'll see, Jordan. You're not there yet. You're a little
Yeah, Jordan's got a way to go. But actually, I think, Jordan,
get a head start.
Just listening to your presentation, I think you're way ahead of the crowd.
Yes.
At this point in time.
Absolutely. So he might hit it before he's 40.
Yes.
Okay,
you're going to hit it long before we do, probably.
Yeah.
So not at all. I mean, people can't see it, not on video, but my joke is that when I finally turned 30, I looked old enough to play a high schooler on TV. So I'm
honestly, Eric
I was
is
the same way, man.
My friends actually just said last night, like, haven't you looked the same at all since I've known you? Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, my friend actually said last night, he's like, well, you have looked exactly the same since the day I met you, so maybe there is something to you, like, not aging. So, and he's known me since, like, we were freshmen in high school. So,
Yes, you guys are kind of kindred spirits in that way. I'm just the old one here.
So, but my point of that video I watched was just that one of the things they talked about is that the classic, what we think of as your midlife crisis,
right, is really like almost the starting in your life. Like,
that's kind of like the point where a lot of people, that's your body telling you, or that's your brain telling you, hey, it's time to really discover yourself.
Right.
And the unfortunate thing about it is most people don't actually ever take that signal and discover themselves.
Right.
They might go down, like we know from, I mean, think about the classic midlife crisis. You buy an expensive car or something like that to make yourself feel good. But then that's as far as it goes.
Right.
But really what that's supposed to be is he's saying that's your signal that, hey, it's time for you to truly
like you shake up your life
yourself
again, like figure out what is it that really made you run when you were a kid, what made you excited, and, you know, why do we have to lose that as we get older? I think we all feel like we need to be, you know, professional in a box, whatever, and put on this show since you're an adult. And I don't really think you have to do that. I think you should just enjoy life.
So, and I think that's a big key of what this episode is all about. So let's start by, because we all have an experience of something we've rediscovered. Let's talk about the things, some of the things you might rediscover later on in your life that you have forgotten you were doing. And I know, Jordan, you want to kick it off because you had, I think when we had started talking about this episode, you had talked about something you had just recently done that was kind of reconnecting from when you were younger.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just one of those things where you do something as a child, you grow up, you do all the things, you go to school, get a job, get married, have kids. And before you know it, 8-10 years has gone by. And one of the things that I realized is that every year I tell myself and I tell my wife I'm going to go snowboarding. It was something I used to do all the time as a kid.
Nice.
I really enjoyed it. I was never, crazy good at it, but there was just something about the connection, riding down, feeling like you're flying, going down a mountain. Well, you have kids, and granted, okay, there's that first year or two, maybe even 3, where you focus, you're doing that. It's hard to step away. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible, but that's just what we did.
Right.
And now our oldest is 7. And before that, we hadn't gone 2 years before she was born. So I realized I had not gone in about 9 years. And I was working in, south of the state here for a conference. And there was a couple of ski hills on my way back home. And I just told my wife, when this conference is done, I'm going to go snowboarding. And just
good for you.
So yeah, I found my snowboard in the garage. I hadn't touched it in so long, and I put it away wet that the zippers literally rusted shut. I had to break the bag open to even be able to get it out. So that's how long it'd been. I get out, I get geared up, and I hit the mountain. I do the first trail, trying to take it easy. I get to the bottom, and I get on the ski lift, and I literally started crying. Just that feeling was so intense. That I'm like, why have I subjected myself to something that I love or had taken it away for so long without even trying? Well, why did it take me so long to come back to it? And it just hit me that I don't do things just for fun. Like when you're a kid, there's no ulterior motive. You go to play because you want to play. You call a friend because you want to talk to that person. It's not because you need to make money. It's not because that's what society tells you to do. It's just because it's what you want to do. It's what's fun.
Right. And I think we all need to make time for that.
Yeah. Like when's the last time you did something just for the sake of doing it, not because there was an ulterior motive? And I'm not saying most people are like that. I'm just saying that's how I've been for the last couple of years, and I'm really trying to change that.
Yeah, I do think a lot of people grow up and they think that it's all business, whether you have kids or not. I do think it does become harder when you have kids because you're really focusing on them. So we're kind of lucky in that sense. Sorry.
Well, it doesn't even. But it's not even the fact that we have kids too, because I can personally say
I can tell you things that
for many years of my life, I probably did the exact same thing you're talking about. Even without kids, I just felt like no, as an adult, this is not what you do. You focus on these things. And it really isn't until like the last 3 years where I was like, you know what? I'm going to like, cause I've always been a fiddler.
Yes.
So like, I've always had like, I get interested in something and I try something and then I'm like, can I make money doing this? That was like my primary thing that I would do as an adult. And I'm like, why am I wasting my time playing? Like, not that I don't have fun with those things.
Right.
But there's so many other things that I would have, I think, a lot more fun with. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why am I over here messing with this stuff when I could just go mountain biking? I could just go biking.
Right. Yeah, and you're hiking. Doing that a lot now.
I could do, all these things in nature that growing up I loved doing.
Right.
And I was just ignoring them because I felt like, well, what's the purpose of that?
Well, and
I think that's what you're trying to say, right, Jordan? Is that you felt that same thing that well, this wasn't furthering me in life, so like.
Right. But I think in reality, it furthers you more than you realize, because if you're happy, if you're at peace, if you're relaxed doing these things, then all the rest of your stuff is going to come so much easier. If you're stressed and you never take time for yourself, it gets really hard to be on all the time. But if you take a break and just be like, wow, that was just really refreshing, just kind of boosted my mood, whatever, then you realize like it feels selfish at first if you're kind of a giver and you do things for other people, etc. But if you do stuff, just take a few minutes every day, week, whatever, however you can swing it, it does really help to alleviate your brain a little bit.
No, absolutely. And it bubbles up underneath the surface, because I recently, my wife and I, we got in a little bit of an argument because we were so overstimulated by everything that was going on. And it just, all it took was one little thing. And then it just, like a volcano, if you don't release that pressure, it's eventually going to blow. And so Tracy, you're 1,000% right. I did feel a little selfish. Like, hey, I'm going to take 4 hours and go do something for myself. That's crazy. And then thinking about Eric's point, like, I'm going to take 4 hours and it's not going to be something that's going to potentially make me money. Like, that seems useless. So
it is true. I think we have these misconceptions as we get older, like, this is what I need to do and I'm not a kid anymore and everything. But it really, the way it can stimulate your brain can help you just all over. And, with work, with life, whatever, just because you're happier, your brain is like in a not sluggish mode anymore, hopefully.
And so it sounds like this had a profound effect on you. Like you're like, yes, doing this is something I love and I want to continue to do it. First question is so now you happen to get a little bit of extra time on the way home from a convention to do this. What are you doing at this point in time to make sure that it's not another 9 years before you go snowboarding? That is a really good.
So unfortunately, that was the last run of the season, because I think that was the end of February.
Isn't that how it happens?
Yeah, the one and only. But I have realized that, even to Tracy's point, if you don't build in this time to do things just for the sake of doing them, you're going to start to crumble and you're going to start to break. So I've taken that and just put it into, honestly, even stuff like the podcast. Because in the intro, I talked about, hey, it's personal development. Hey, it's part comedy. When I look back at some of my earlier episodes, I feel like I'm trying to be somebody that I'm not. I'm trying to.
We had that for a while. I had a couple episodes and I'm like, I don't like these episodes because it's just, you're doing something else. And it's like, you got to just, like we said before we started this, we're pretty much winging it. So it's more comfortable just to have a good conversation and not put too much into it, not too much. I do some research here and there, but sometimes the episodes, I'm like, wow, that was just a really dull episode, and you should just really be having fun with your stuff that you're doing on the side like that. And also, like, with your snowboarding, you're going to be really excited when winter comes again. Just make sure you get some planned, for as soon as it goes. That way you know that you keep doing it.
Just buy the lift tickets, go on sale, and fall or even summer, they'll do super sale. So it's just putting that commitment to it. But just like you said, we are morphing. And I love how you introed the podcast to this when you hit your 40s and you realize this is your midlife crisis, but it's finding yourself. Life is mostly just about finding yourself. And the only way to do that is to experiment. So even looking back at some of our past episodes or past things we did, as long as it's a progression and it's not stagnation where you're just continuously doing the same things over and over. It's okay to try things. And if you look back
absolutely.
and you say, hey, that's not me, that's perfect. It's actually a sign of growth, and you're able to have that perspective that, okay, I thought that's what I wanted, but it's not anymore. And I've been really just having fun in this experimental phase of life, really. And it's just testing the waters, seeing what makes me happy. That and like we talked about when we were kids, I loved comedy. I wanted to be a stand-up comic. I wanted to act. I wanted to do all these things. So now I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Can I do more playful things at work? Can I try to be a little bit more tongue in cheek on the podcast? So it's just it's a flow.
Yeah. It is. I like that. I like how it's, you just kind of like, well, this is what I liked, so how can this fit into my life now? And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And I love how you take the approach of just, like experimenting, and because I think we all put ourselves in such a tough regiment with things like and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where
we don't let ourselves fail. Which
I
really
have
it's not
also
failing
seen,
if you're learning.
Yeah. I've seen that just the act of just playing around with things makes even the most benign and dumb thing you might do way more interesting, you know, and can actually make something that you absolutely hate doing something you enjoy doing just by playing with it. And
it just kind of brings that curiosity.
New ways to do that thing. So, so think about that the next time you have to do dishes. Just experiment with it. It'll get better. You'll find a fun way to do it, right?
Yeah, we'll use different soap or something.
That's what I do.
It is true. I know. I put on music when I do dull tasks, and it just makes it more fun. So.
And I really think it's funny, too, that you say with the snowboarding thing, you did it right at the end of the year.
I feel like we've done that before.
Oh, we did. We did. So basically, me and Tracy used to camp a lot. And we had, I think it was just one really bad year where every time we went camping, it was like 110 degrees out. It was terrible. So I just said, I'm done. I'm not camping anymore.
Yeah.
And finally last year we kind of dabbled into camping because we did do it all summer.
We technically did it all summer, but the solo camping was at the very end.
But then we hit a stride right at the end of it where we decided like because me and Tracy are the type of couple that we do everything together. So it's not very often you'll see us in a public place without each other.
Right. I mean, occasionally you'll go out without me because I'm a little bit less of a public person. But you're right. We're a very together couple, but we also do like splitting up and being like, oh, you want to go for a hike today? Go on, have fun.
Yeah. So we discovered this idea of, well, what if, when we feel like it, one of us goes camping, just escapes for 2 days and leaves the other one home, and we can flip the role every once in a while. And that was just going awesome. But in the same way it was with your snowboarding, right? We got all into this, and it was like
the end of the season,
of October when we started doing it. So we're like, so it immediately got cold, and then we're just left sitting around like, hey man, when we can start doing that again, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and I'm getting excited because I need to plan a trip pretty soon. So I'm getting pretty excited about that, actually. But it is. It's like you just have to keep yourself motivated in the off season if you do something like that, because otherwise you will go how many years without doing it again. I do think that was a really good example too, because really, man, when I was a kid, I would camp. When we first were dating, married, whatever, we would camp. And then all of a sudden it was like, I have no desire to camp. But this summer, or I guess last summer, man, everything turned around and I'm like, this is where I want to be. I just want to be in nature.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of that is our mindset. I think
it is right. And I think that's the thing. I think we can't necessarily be too hard on ourselves when we fall out of things like this, like when you fell out of snowboarding, because it's just, we're in a different place in our life for those years. But, to allow ourselves to pick it up again and be like, I'm not sure I like the bathrooms when I camp, but I like everything else. So I'm willing to try it again. So just not saying, no, we ended it for a reason, just being open to trying things again.
Right. And I think, and maybe Jordan, you can tell me if you've had examples of this now pop into your head, but the minute I had one of those moments where I rediscovered something from when I was younger, then I started looking back at my life and saying, oh my God, what else have I forgotten about? And what else could I potentially be looking at doing similar to this? Because that, bringing back the camping thing, bringing back the nature thing, that was such a big impact on our life. Now I'm like, well, what else have I forgotten about that could have this same profound effect?
Right.
Have you found anything in your head that you're like, oh, now I got to try this or do that?
Yes and no. So I think what it did for me is that when I had that experience and I went on that trip and I did that soul searching on the inside, is I realized that I spent a lot of my childhood being sort of a chameleon, kind of trying to blend in.
Me too.
Never really. I couldn't be associated with certain groups or do certain things because I had to be able to shift and maneuver through so many different scenarios. And that has really hit me. So, and I love that, Tracy, you talked about listening to music when you do the dishes. That was one thing that I had such trauma attached to it, music. So music shouldn't have any trauma attached.
Oh, but, not at all.
But this was the thing. So growing up, my friends we were skater punks and they were into hard rock or metal music. And I really wasn't. Music was never really my thing, but you had to fit the part. So I wore, the graphic tees, and I'll never forget this moment. I was wearing a Korn t-shirt at the skate park, and this kid walks up to me and he's like, "Can you name 3 songs by Korn?" And I couldn't.
No.
I got called every name in the book, poser, loser, and it stuck with me to this day.
I understand.
I still do not wear band t-shirts. I do not wear graphic tees. I don't wear anything that has any identifying factors that can put me in a social cast or a social group. Yeah. And this is where the podcast too is kind of taken a turn, where the last couple of episodes I've started a new segment called Help Me Understand. And I'm going to start doing topics that I feel like I should know, but I don't. My first one was actually music. Oh, yeah. So I've got my last 2 episodes where, hey, help me. I've been such afraid of people being able to judge me or being able to say, hey, you are a hick because you listen to country, or you are a punk because you listen to rock, that I've kept this self-expression away from myself. My last interview I did with a musician, a good friend of mine, and he had said that. He's like, hey, I'm really sorry people put you in the box in the weirdest of ways, because music is this form of expression where you get to know yourself a little bit deeper. And I missed out on that from my childhood. So that's one thing that I'm trying to bring back, is rediscover music.
Absolutely.
Like what is music? So that's something I've been really enjoying.
Kind of like, what does it mean to adult Jordan now? And that it didn't, because I know my music taste is like the widest. Probably the only thing I won't listen to is most metal and maybe a little rap. But otherwise, I think the reason mine was so wide was because I was always just taking everything that everybody around me was like listening to and doing and everything. So like, I was kind of a chameleon in my own way. Like you said that, like, I just was always trying to fit in. So I always had every music. So instead of like being shut off, I have everything now. And I'm like, well, do you want to listen to this today or this today? And I'm lucky never hit me like you, because that is something to miss out. And I think you need to explore that and just say, I'm not a kid anymore. This doesn't have to be, it's almost like a kind of form of shadow work, like working through something that was lost.
That is a definite form of shadow work. And that's a weird one. I don't know that I've ever heard anybody say that before. But where it comes from, it's cool that you have pretty much identified, it sounds like, down to a T, why it happened,
Oh,
and like what kind of springs from it. Like, I won't wear this t-shirt. And because we've got things, we talked about that in the shadow work episode. We're like, oh my gosh, I realized I do this because of this, and to identify that and then say, okay, but now can I do this still? Like, can I do this again? Because now that I know why I didn't do it, kind of get to the heart of it.
So, Jordan, are you familiar? She said shadow work multiple times. Are you familiar with that concept?
No, I'm not. No, do tell.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Sorry. See, we're getting into this with our friend group too. So like, we're all like digging in. So shadow work is basically, like Eric mentioned Carl Jung earlier, it's actually a concept that was brought forth by him. And it's just basically examining the stuff that we kind of hide, our darker sides, the stuff that we don't want to look at in our life. Like, why do I do this? And then you're just examining it and seeing, like, if you can trace back maybe why you were always quiet, why you did this, why. And they like, we both have shadow work books that like prompt us with questions. And then all of a sudden you realize like, oh my gosh, I'm over accommodating because of XYZ. And it's like we want to hide the stuff that we don't like about ourselves. But if we look at why we do it, like why you don't wear a band t-shirt, why you don't wear graphic t-shirts, you can start to pick apart and say, well, this is, not right. I don't need to do this. And it was because of this that I did it. So it's just breaking those barriers.
It's also supposed to help you really, truly like discover like barriers you've built for yourself that you might not even know are there.
Right.
Like it's just a place. It's kind of like what you were talking about with band t-shirts. You might not have even realized you wouldn't wear a band t-shirt. It's just every time you saw a band t-shirt, you're like,
nope.
No. Like, why do people wear that?
Right.
But then getting down, once you realize why you don't wear a band shirt or why band shirts make you feel that way, you're like, well, this is not a logical thing at all.
Right.
I need to get over this.
And like it's almost like there's definite logic behind it. But
you can see why it happened, but it's not a rational thing.
I don't need to be afraid of who I am, kind of thing. And it really does help you become more in tune and more okay with yourself too, where you're like, so I can't name 3 songs. I like them. but it's a fun, it's a hard, fun concept to deal with.
No, I really like that because it almost feels exactly like what I did because I started to go down the rabbit hole and do just like you said. Hey, why do you feel the way you feel about this topic?
Right.
And gosh, I mean, that can be quite a trip because that happens. And more often than I can count, I'll have this driving and I had this epiphany. And it's crazy how when it takes you years to figure something out, but somebody can meet you and they know it right away.
That is and it's because we try to like ignore it in ourselves or something. It's like
we're just blind to it. It's so definitively us, we're just blind to it.
Right. Right. But then all of a sudden you meet somebody else and they're like, oh, so here's your trauma.
Yeah. They literally can call it out. I mean, so we were driving. I'll never forget. We were driving and we're at the intersection of Richmond and Double O. And I look at my wife and I'm like, I think I'm scared of being fat. I think I've had some I
understand that.
I have some weird trauma from my childhood where my mom had an eating disorder. And I used to just watch her eat, and she just looks at me and she's like, "Yeah, I've known that for forever."
Oh my gosh, that's amazing! You're like, but why didn't you tell me? Come on,
you've been holding out on me, man.
just crazy stuff like that. So trust me, there's so much internal work, and I think a lot of people they don't want to do it because it's scary, and where do you start? So obviously there's stigmas behind that. So it's very daunting. So I mean, I kept trying to like find my pencil and I'm like, I don't want to look like I'm distracted, but I kept trying to write down shadow work so I don't forget it.
And it's funny because when you think about it, it's just like it's uncomfortable to do this, but at the same time, most people do not want to accept the fact that there could be anything wrong with them.
And it's not even that there's something wrong. It's just something that's, misfiring, just different.
Right. Well, it's you were just developed kind of with a misconception.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at it rationally, you're going to see that this isn't right, but you just have,
it's just been developed over time from whatever course.
You've accepted that as being the reality when you sit down and break it down. It's not reality at all.
Yeah, because it was just through your lens of perception at that point in time, but it just solidified a spot in your brain.
God, it's like he takes my mumbo jumbo and just spins it around and makes it sound good.
It's true. We're like trying to think of words, and he's like, "So this is what it is, guys."
No, oh God, man. That's just the psychiatrist in me. I used to carry around a DS. Are you guys familiar with the diagnostics book?
Yes.
DSM. Yes. So my stepsister growing up was a clinical psychologist, and I got one of those for Christmas. I think when I was
sorry,
when I was awesome. 10. No, It's the
When you were 10?
When I was 10. So I would go around for the next 4, or no, God, or maybe I was in middle school. Yeah, I think I was in middle school. I would go around self-diagnosing all my friends and classmates.
Oh, man.
Oh my God, did they hate you?
No, they had no idea because I would walk around and
you would
nobody
do
knew
it
what
in your own.
the
Okay.
manual was, but I would put it in like ciphers in the back because it had the glossary, and I would have nicknames, or I'd have secret names for people. So it'd be like,
that is the best.
it would be like BPD, and it would say like squiggle line Fiona, something. I don't know.
Man, I just want you to know, Jordan, my childhood would have been way cooler if I would have known you.
I agree.
Because that
really
sounds
do.
like
It's
a lot of fun.
You were a little bit more self-aware at that age than I think most people were. And, now I will not lie. I look at people and I'm like, well, they have ADHD, they're bipolar, but you're right. I don't tell them to their face because most people don't accept it very well.
No. And it's, maybe it wasn't the best childhood activity to do. It's just, I really, how my dad was very mechanically inclined. And I always used to tell him this joke. I'm like, does it make you feel bad that your son would rather ask the tools how they're feeling than be able to use them?
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And because I couldn't take something apart and put it back together. But if it's a person, I could do that. Right,
you could. That is really interesting. Now, this is going to be something that you're going to start maybe in your 40s again. You're just going to walk around diagnosing people. Like, I liked that when I was a kid.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Well, it was a way that I could.
It's interesting.
To be honest, it was a little bit of a if I knew what made people tick, I could make them happy or like me. So it was honestly just very selfish because I was so afraid of not being liked that I needed to change who I was around certain people. So if you were acted a certain way or you were part of a certain group, I could pretend to be like that for a little bit so you would like me. And so it was just it was a coping mechanism to never be disliked. And I think that's a big thing I've got to get over.
I'm finally getting it to that point, but I'm a lot like you in that sense. Like, I didn't have a DSM back then, which would have been cool, but I could tell what made people tick in a lot of ways where I could just go from group to group kind of like that and be, like, oh, today I'm punk, today I'm hippie, today, and like I was a little bit of everything, but now I know what really makes me tick. And I think that's part of when you take things from your childhood, you're like, what actually made me happy? Like, not when I was trying to be in one of those groups, but what made me happy. And then that's,
I think it's
okay. I was going to say, that's where I am right now. And I hate to interrupt you because I've spent my majority of my life pretending to be so many things that
me too.
That I realize that I don't know who I am. I don't know who Jordan is. And that is this beginning of this new journey. So I've got 9 years.
That's exciting.
I just turned 31 yesterday. I don't even know what date it is. On Friday, 2 days ago. So now I've got 9 years to figure out. Thank you. To figure out who I am. So then by the time I'm 40, I can go down my path.
Oh, you're gonna be. Yeah,
honestly, you know what? I think you hit 40 at 31.
I think so too, because
that's
I think
what happens.
You're right about where I see, and I think I hit mine when I was about 37.
Yeah,
but.
Yeah. But and it varies from people.
But I think because you're a little bit more self-aware than other people, or willing to do the work, you just hit it earlier. So you're lucky. You're going to have some smooth sailing in eventually.
All right.
And I actually want to swing back to, so you were talking about how, like as a coping mechanism, you used being able to read people to get them to like you and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And you said that that's something you need to get over.
Yes.
And I just want to add that I personally think because you're consciously aware of it, that's all you need to do.
It's a big thing. Just kind of say, like, am I going through the motions?
Because it's not necessarily... Think about it. You've been that way for the past 30 years of your life.
Right.
It might be a little too late for you to, quote, like... completely reverse it.
Right. But you can start to. Like, you can start to be like, I'm starting to get in these modes where I'm like, yeah, people might think it's weird if I talk about witchcraft or talk about this. But then I'm like, I'll bring it up. And if they're not bothered, I'm going to keep going with it. Like you slowly start to be yourself around people instead of who they're expecting you to be, like this buttoned up person or whatever. And then you start to realize, like, before you know it, you are just that person on a, daily, hourly, whatever basis.
That feels so good to hear that.
Yeah, I think
it takes time.
I personally think that what you need to do is acknowledge who you are.
Yep.
And accept it. And then you just psychologically, you'll take the right steps for it.
Right.
Because if you want to improve it over time, you'll slowly improve it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're content with where you're at, then you might just leave it the way it is because you're like, no, this is who I am and I'm okay with that. You know, I recently went through this because I'm a very, very giving person.
Yes.
And I've learned a lot of that stems from the fact that I was the child of an alcoholic. Like this is a very common trait of a child of an alcoholic. And I realized that yeah, it was caused by that, but I also kind of came to the conclusion that I like that about myself. I definitely need to have boundaries, which is something we talk about a lot, but I need to have boundaries around that.
Right.
But it's not a bad thing.
But being a giving person is not a bad thing
Yeah.
at all. You just need to be able to take care of yourself in the off time as well. And that's where you were failing in the past.
Yeah. So I think as far as you wanting to fix that, you've done everything you need to do.
Right.
You just have to kind of make the decision of, okay, now I know this about myself. Where do I want to go with it?
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And it is, what's really interesting too, is when you start doing things that, make you happy, that you're being yourself, etc., you start to realize that you're attracting kind of the right people and the other people will just fade back too, but you start to realize that your connections can even be getting stronger too, because you're like, hey, I'm talking about something that I genuinely like instead of trying to fit in.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
gosh, yeah, it just and it so,
like, oh man, it's so true.
It takes so much energy to pretend to be something you're not, and it's so draining. It's so exhausting.
Yes, I know this. I know this from history, and that's where I'm just starting to be like, I don't care what you think of me anymore because it is too draining. It really is.
Yeah, and eventually, I mean, I think I figured out to the point of rather than trying to be something I'm not. When I'm with a group of people and the conversation goes someplace where I don't really want to be in that conversation, I find it's just way easier just to sit there silently.
Yeah.
And just observe what's going on rather than
it is fun to
try to put yourself into the situation.
Secretly
you don't even want to be having this conversation. So why are you taking unnecessary energy to become part of the conversation you don't want to be a part of?
Right.
So.
You start to make your inner peace more of a thing when you realize all these things, and it really is just being aware.
And that hit me. Yeah, I mean, I'll add one more. I'm never anybody that rocks the boat. I'm so passive.
Me either. Sometimes I do,
but it was my birthday, and I'm sitting at the table with some two friends, and when they get together, all they do is they bicker. It eventually ends up in a fight, and I finally was like, "Yep, we're gonna stop here, guys. You do this every time we get together." So, and we're not gonna do it today. And apparently, one of them got really offended, and I'm like, I don't care that I offended them, but I'm not upset that I said it. Like, it needed to be said.
Absolutely.
And, and that's something that I would not have done, a year ago. So it's already kind of coming up into forms, and it's not like I'm being an asshole. It's just I'm not going to continue to let things bother me and then keep it bottled up, I guess. So that's one manifestation.
And I would be really curious to see. And maybe we even need to have a podcast update for this, because I'd like to know now the next time you get together
I want to know
them,
if they just go back to...
Is that going to happen again? Or
are they going to realize, we're by Jordan, we got to not do this, we're going to keep our cool, or maybe
they again, they just weren't aware of what they were doing, and now that somebody called them on it, they're just like, well, we don't want to do that.
They both admitted that they did not know that they did this, and I brought up three examples in the past month where it's happened, and they're like, okay, all right, yeah, I can maybe kind of see that.
Yeah,
so,
and
have you met with them since then?
No, this was literally 2 days ago. So
okay.
And what's interesting too is when you start to do these kind of things, taking your life into your own control and whatever, and you start to shine differently, you kind of lead as an example too, because who knows, now just those couple words might make your friends be like, whoa, I got
what have we been doing?
Stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what's really important is just kind of like not looking out for number one or anything like that, but just really taking your own wants and needs into consideration, whether it's going snowboarding or whether it's having a nice meal where nobody's bickering or, you know, any of these kind of things. It's just like, what's going to make me happy right now? And is this making me happy?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I love it. And I mean, a good way to end it, and I apologize if my mic dies on us. My podcasts are only like 15, 20 minutes long. So my mic is flashing red. But during your live episode, you had said something, and I wrote it down. It's actually one of the few notes I took during that event. And it's, what do I want while I'm here? And I think, Tracy, you had said that. And boy, did that sting. Like I don't know. I don't know what I want. And it's frustrating.
You know what, though? It's okay because I'm kind of at a point where I know certain things that I want and certain things that I don't want. But it's okay to at least acknowledge the fact that you don't know either. And the biggest thing, too, is know what you don't want.
Right.
And that will help you know what you want.
And honestly, I don't think you'll ever know what you want.
No.
But it's about asking. I mean,
asking
if you remember the
that.
big push of or maybe we didn't get this message across very well. But the intent of that podcast episode was to say, hey, instead of
like grinding
out and never thinking, take some time to stop and reflect and say, I mean, I'm here, I'm doing all this stuff, but why? Like, what am I going to, like, why?
Yeah.
There isn't a reason for you to go and work 80 hours a week every week if that's what you're doing, unless that's what you want to do. If you want to do that, that's fine. But I think way too many people just get stuck in a hamster wheel running around in what they think society should be and never really stop to reflect on, like you said, what do I want my life to be?
Right.
You know? Because if all you want to do is read 120 books a year, I mean, the way you build that life is a lot different than somebody who wants to be a multimillionaire.
That is absolutely
you know
true.
what I mean? Like, and if you don't have that idea in your head, I mean, you're never going to get there.
Right.
Because, I mean, don't you usually figure out the solution and then work towards the solution?
Absolutely.
Not like, well, one of these days I'll figure out that solution, but until then, I'm just going to run and get there.
Right. So I do think it's important to ask yourself, you know, what do I want? What is making me happy? What did I do when I was younger that made me happy? Because who knows, maybe that was just the key, because you're not thinking about, you know, like I remember I believe it was Office Space, the movie, they said, you would do, what would you do for a job? And they're like, what would you do if you had $1 million? Like, I would not work, obviously. But I think when you're a kid, you're not working towards anything. You're doing what you love. And then you hopefully build your life around that. Like, I loved doing art. And then I was like, I'm going to go to school for art. But not everybody does that. They just get trapped in the adulthood.
Right.
So what did you do when you were little?
Not everybody. I think most people get trapped in the adulthood, you know?
Right. So I think it is just important from time to time to look and say, you know, what's making me happy now? What made me happy then? What could I incorporate? Just anything. It's just really, really like, and don't worry about what people think, because all of a sudden you're going to find somebody who's like, oh my gosh, I used to love going roller skating. We should go together. So like you realize that not all the stuff that you do, that it might not be, it might be weird to some people, but then there's other people who think you're like the coolest person for doing it. So
got to find your 1,000 true fans.
Absolutely true.
So one more question for you, and we can wrap this episode up. But since you wrote that note down, have you thought about what you want your life to be? Are you making inroads into this vision of what you want your life to look at, or are you still looking at those notes and thinking, I really don't know?
No,
and it's okay not to know.
It is okay. So yes, I have had this in time for introspection, and what I believe is, I kind of want to be a teacher now, in the sense of not in like, hey, I want to go stand up in front of a class, but I really enjoy public speaking. My full-time job allows me to go out and do it in the public. And this past April, I was a part of a conference I got to speak at for student council members of Wisconsin. Cool. And most people hate that. So they always say, find something that is played, that feels like play to you, but is work to others. And public speaking is like the number one fear. Actually comes before death.
So the fact that it's so funny. That it's funny that you like it. And yep.
So much. So I've kind of been going down this path of what does that look like and how can I make it fun? Mm-hmm. And how can I bring in some of these things from my childhood, like the comedy, like stand-up, and personal development. My biggest thing is I like to make people happy, but I like to also make them think. So as long as I can make them think and maybe make them laugh, that makes me feel so good. Yeah. So right now I'm trying to find how can I blend comedy and personal development. So if you look at a Venn diagram, what is that middle section? I literally just drew that. I just drew that on Friday. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do.
And I think
that's awesome. That's way more than most people do at your age or at any point in their life.
And I love the fact that how you sat down and you looked at that like, okay, how can I incorporate these different aspects into it?
It's true. Mm-hmm. I actually took a manifesting course, and that's essentially what they said. They're like, write down everything that you want with this and this, and then put it in groups. Mm-hmm. And that's essentially it. You know, you're just basically trying to organize your thoughts and your likes and man, so many people don't do it, and I think they just need to, even if they just take an hour a week and think, am I doing what I want to do at all? So
definitely. So, all right, do you got anything else for Jordan before his mic goes dead?
I don't have anything else. Do you have anything that you want to add, Jordan?
Gosh, you guys are amazing. I know that when we met, it was so cool to hang out with you guys in person, and you guys have a lovely home. We tried to record there this morning.
Yeah, I know.
But Eric was unprepared as he could be.
But you guys are just awesome. It's so nice to meet people in this ecosystem and just to be able to chat and it's nice. A blast.
It's nice to have a deep conversation and then to find out, like, you and I, man, I think our paths are so much alike. So the fact that I see you, like, breaking out of your shell is really exciting. Like, he's going to get there, you know? So, I like it. It's nice talking to people who are, you know, like-minded and have, you know, thoughts like that.
Yeah, and I would definitely love to have you come back on and talk about your actual presentation that you did.
Yes.
Because I thought your presentation was super, super powerful as well. So we can kind of go down a little wormhole with that.
Yeah, so maybe if our listeners are lucky, we'll get another episode.
Well, thank you.
So
okay.
And if you want to give one more plug for your podcast out to everybody?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. The show is called What's Your One Thing? And that's the words the number one and the word thing. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, check it out and make sure. I'm sure Jordan will be one of the live presenters at a future podcast show we do. So if we weren't enough to get you to come to the show, maybe Jordan will be. So
yes. So, but we will definitely be keeping in touch, and hopefully we can have you on our episode again.
We want to thank.
I love it.
Yes, we want to thank Jordan again for joining us, and we'll see everybody in 2 weeks on our next episode. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, guys. Thanks so much.